I only have one rule. Everyone fights, no one quits.
Welcome to WTC Squadcast, a podcast focusing on international matters, tournaments, communities, and the World Team Championship. The WTC is a proud partner of the T-Sports Network, Best Coast Pairings, and is sponsored by the Army Painter. If you'd like to support the podcast and the WTC, please visit our Patreon at www.patreon.com/WTC Squadcast. Now, let's get on with the show.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the WTC Squadcast, Into the Squad, the official podcast of the WTC. In this podcast we get a deeper insight to how teams work, how do they form their teams, and how do they prepare for the event, and what actually are they aiming for. Today, it's Işık again, just like any other podcast, and we have Team Romania captain Bogdan. Thank you, Bogdan, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so for starters, can you introduce yourself for us?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Bogdan. I'm the current captain for Team Romania, picking up after Matei left off a few years ago.
The legendary captain of Team Romania.
Yeah, exactly. As you can spot him in the slideshow behind. The legendary captain, yeah. Yeah, I've been playing since 2008. 2008. When I first found the community here in Romania, it was just a single store in Bucharest, but not very big. Just fell in love with the game and the community, and then just opened my own shop a few years later and started to grow the community little by little. It hasn't been easy here in Romania, but we're getting there little by little.
So literally building the community yourself by opening up a store. That is dedication. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, most of my friends now I've met through the store, through the community, so to say.
Is it an enjoyable experience to run a store?
Sometimes. Most of the time, yes, it is.
And
Like I said, I know most of the guys, and everyone that comes to the store, we become fast friends. So we have hobbies in common, things we like and share.
Yep.
So yeah, it's been really fun, and I really enjoy it.
That's comes up with what you mentioned, that just before. All the people in the community actually get along with each other really well because we have a shared hobby, and in your case, a literal occupation, like a job, and it's so that way. I was just talking with the Ukrainians, and they mentioned like you can walk to anybody in a tournament, and just start talking about how Eldar sucks and how AdMech is broken, and they'll just agree with you and start a conversation.
Exactly, yes. We're like-minded individuals who found a common thing, and we like to geek out on it.
Exactly. When you mentioned you started playing in 2008, when did you start playing competitively? Did you start in 2008, or did you...
So my first experience of competitive 40K was, I think, 2010. One of my friends found out that the Games Workshop was having a GT in Poland. I think it was their last GT before they completely shut off their competitive scene, their official competitive scene. So that was when we went to Poland, to Warsaw, I think, and we played in a tournament. I played Orcs, and I remember I got last place.
Oh wow! That is a record.
Yes, it was. It was fun. It was really fun. But yeah, I got last place, and I didn't do so well in the tournament.
Okay.
But it was amazing.
Can I ask, can you describe us why did you? Because you didn't think the competition would be that high.
No, because up to then, we haven't played competitively here in Romania. I mean, the scene in Romania was friends playing against each other with what they have, what the model that they get, what they thought was cool. Having 3 units of the same unit was considered, oh my god, that's cheesy. How can you play with that? So yeah, it was not. We weren't so competitive. And when we went there, my list was what I thought was good for orcs back then. Of course, it wasn't anything close to what orcs were good. So it didn't help. My opponents weren't like the easiest to fight to face. I distinctly remember the first guy I faced in the tournament was a Russian player, and the first thing he said when he came to the table, I still remember it now. He says, "Hi, my name is," I forgot his name. My name is a strong Russian accent. Hi, my name is I don't know what. I am I'm champion of Russia. I'm sorry you have to face me in first round. And he proceeded to beat my ass mercilessly with Necrons. Back then they even had phase out, and he still lost horribly to him.
Okay, well, okay, so that is a start. I'll give it to you. That's like going from the deep end into the competitor
Yes.
scene.
I was me and two other guys from Romania were playing in 40k, and two other guys were playing in the fantasy part of the tournament. And we were just amazed at how many people are, and we just made quick friends with some of them. It was, like I said, the first taste of competitive 40k. And after that, we stopped. We didn't know about any other tournament outside until another friend of ours heard about ETC. And he presented the rules to us. We would thought it was, oh, that's cool. Let's try it. Let's try and see if we can get 8 people together, and see if we can go to the tournament. So the first ETC we went to was in Poland again.
I can give you the year if you want.
Yeah, I forgot the year.
2012.
2012. Yeah.
I have my records ready, so I'm calling out
Nice.
people in the podcast. It's like they say, "Oh, I think it was the first year we attended was 2009." No, it was 2008. I'm like pointing that out. It's great.
It was. Yeah, that was another great experience for us. We went there with no expectations, and yeah, I think we won actually only one game. We won our last round against I think it was the Dutch, maybe I forgot.
It could be Dutch. Yeah.
Yeah, we held the record for worst loss the ETC for a few years until Novi Sad 2, I think. We took 17 points from Denmark.
but
Yeah.
it, like, you mentioned that the heavy losses and being last place, but you kept coming back. What made you keep coming back to the tournaments?
The people, the atmosphere, the the whole idea of, wow, we go on a road trip with the guys, as everyone on the team, we're friends. Generally, we formed the team. We used to form the team with okay, we gather at the store. Who can come this summer for the ETC? Me. Okay, we got a team. Now, what armies do we pick? Well, I like this one. Okay, you play that one. So we didn't have any specific, say, pro way of picking teams or picking the best player to go with us. Just we were friends that decided to go. So we imagine we didn't do too well in the tournament.
But it was the atmosphere and the camaraderie then. So it was
Yes, exactly.
okay. So you mentioned in the past it was like that. Do you have some new plans for the future?
Um, Now as community grew in Romania, we have players all around Romania now, Timișoara, Cluj, and other big cities here. And forming the team, we actually have people we can pick out to see who's the best one we can take with us. But still, the best way to pick the player for the team is if we all get along and he's one of our friends, so to say.
So
But
you
yeah,
mentioned the community got bigger. How big of a community are we talking about here?
um, so big for us in Romania is maybe like 40 players in Bucharest. I'm another 20, in Cluj, Timișoara again, some 20, and various people all around different cities. So we're small. We're incredibly small compared to any other country. Yeah, I don't know exactly why. I think mostly it's the entry point. Prices are a little high for us. And for the average player, for the, let's say, college-going student, he would much rather go out drinking or have fun than spend his time painting miniatures and playing. We also have we have our share of, so to say, geeks that will prefer to play the game, but they don't have the money to pay for it. So yeah, it grew, but very, very slowly.
So
I'd say in the last 3 years, it grew more than all the other years combined.
why do you start? Is there any specific reason for that growth?
Um, Mostly, I think the first thing is um, we don't have dedicated hobby shops. I mean, in Bucharest, there are a few hobby shops that sell Warhammer miniatures, but my store is the only one that actually has enough tables to hold a tournament or to have like 20 people the same store and play. All the others have one table, maybe, but it's also split between other hobby stuff or stuff like that. Cluj has another great store, Timișoara as well, but it's only one per whole city. And I think this is why we haven't had a more competitive scene or more people join, because there's only so many people I can fit in the store at one time.
So it was a logistical issue.
I think so, yes. That's mostly it. It's, I mean, only I can do the marketing for my store. I can only touch up on so many people and gather. It's easier when, let's say, when there are more stores that each promote themselves, have tournaments, stuff like that.
Yeah.
We before the pandemic, we used to run countrywide tournament in April. It was, yeah, in April, where we invited people from all over the country. We also got some people from Bulgaria as well to join us, and we had like a 20, 30 person tournament. We got up to our third edition, but then the pandemic hit and we had to cancel the plans until it calms down a little. So this was like the largest 40K tournament that we ever had in the country.
Still, the 30 person is not. It is a respectable amount. It after about 20, you can be somewhat confident that you will not keep playing against the same people, which is
Yeah,
which adds quite a bit of life to even with a community of 30 people. You can have several tournaments where people won't get bored, and they'll get to play new people.
yeah. We generally held 20% tournaments at our store. Like every couple of months, we have a tournament, either using WTC rules or the new Games Workshop tournament rules now. But still small, I think, compared to any other. I mean, I've talked to other captains from other countries saying, "How do you select your people?" Well, we get the 20 best Grey Knight players, and they each come up with a list, and then we pick one. Great, I only have one Grey Knight player, so I guess I'm bringing him.
No, that is true. There are some countries that are easily spoiled with choice, and they
Yes.
genuinely don't understand the troubles of small countries. And it's like they. I'm going to ask you that as well, but it's not like this applies to Turkey, at least probably to Romania. There is not a method of simply picking a team in a meritocratic way, because you cannot guarantee 8 people even attending the international
Exactly.
tournament, let alone like then it's just at this point becomes an economics issue. Can you pay for the trip? Good. You are a
Exactly.
you have a person with a pulse that is warm, and that is from the same nation that willingly want to come to the WTC. You are in. It's like, so. Is it the same in Romania?
Uh, Yes, it was the same for us. The only year where we actually had the qualifier and we actually had more players to pick for was 2019, where we had let's say a more diverse pool of players, and we picked the best we could. But the rest, yeah, it was who's free this summer, who can attend, who doesn't have wife, mother, spouse, anything beating down his neck. Make a holiday out of it. Let's go. Let's play.
Yeah, it is a good diversion to make a holiday out of the WTC. So you get to run away, you get your spouse, you sort of leave them to the city for 5 days, and you join them. It's like it sort of works out, maybe ish.
Yeah, I think it's a bad idea to bring your spouse to the WTC, or because during the day you're playing your games, so if you have no time for her, and in the evening when you're done and you go out, you're gonna want to talk to your team about the today's games or tomorrow's games. You won't have time for her again, so
No, no.
she might feel.
Look, you're thinking this incorrectly. Yeah, let's take an example of Serbia, right? The event is in Novi Sad. You first go to Belgrade, then you disappear for 5 days, then you come back telling a very fancy story about getting abducted but running away from your abductees. As, so there's like, so nobody is any wiser, and you just get to play 5 games, which is obviously the perfect plan. Nobody can convince me otherwise.
Yeah, just have to convince them that they actually let you take your Warhammer army with you when they abducted you.
Yeah, it's like no, somebody else will bring that with you. You're not taking this obviously comprehensively.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because I have put some ideas into this. Like, well, okay.
Yeah, no, for me it was no. I'll go with the guys. You can stay here, and we'll make a holiday out of somewhere else. We can go after that. Though I've had friends that brought their wives, girlfriends to the tournament, so I guess they liked it.
It is, but I know Americans especially do it. Americans, some of the
I think for
Australians.
them it's harder because it's a long way. It's a lot more, I think, bigger monetary investment than for us. Like generally, we can drive to most of the venues if we really put our mind to it. At least up to now, I think they were in driving distance, except the one in Salamanca, which is a little bit farther away for
Uh,
us. But the
Athens
rest,
was pretty close as well, right?
yeah, half our team drove there, so yeah,
All right.
it's pretty close.
Uh, uh, it's some countries make a 20-person essentially uh not how do you say this, a group, a 20-person group where they go to, on a
Yeah, it was the same for us because we are also friends with the Flames of War guys, Flames of War Romanian team that also plays at our store, and we always went together. They went to the Flames of War stuff or the old people, and we went to the 40k stuff. But we
it's
always travel together.
it's exactly the same with the Turkish. We obviously, because the small community, it has that advantage, you know everybody.
Yeah,
That and we the 40k side traveled with the Flames of War side as well, so it was always fun. That is one of the that's one of the experiences we sort of had to leave behind when we created the WTC, but that was a good part of the ETCs to essentially meet with or just encounter in the hallway with some other game system where okay, you like I'll see that guy every week, but I in that ETC duration, I'll maybe get to see them even although they are literally a stone's throw away. I might not encounter them all week, which is interesting.
yes.
So you about the before we skip, I have another question about your how does your competitive 40k WTC team work? How did you become captain? I know, I think I have an idea, but I would like to know as well from your words.
Uh, so our previous captain Matei couldn't attend that year's ETC. At first, he said that he couldn't attend it, so we needed a new captain, and we held a vote out of the people of the team who wanted to be captain. So, and I got picked. Uh, Later on, it turned out Matei could come to the tournament, but he didn't want the captaincy back, so I got stuck with it, so to
Ah,
say.
so did you enjoy the captaincy then?
Uh, yes, it was okay. It was fun. I'm not the kind of person to seek the spotlight, so to say, but it was yeah, it was fun. If,
I
we had our best score, to say, of the whole time. Our the Romania team was the ETC WTC, so to say. We had 3 wins. Almost got our 4th win
yes.
against Ireland, but
Yeah, you guys beat us, I think.
yes, yes.
Yeah, so fuck you. So I'm not happy about it. I was like, that.
I still have. You played our Imperial Knights player, Vlad, if you remember him,
I think
and
that.
to this day he still says, "I beat the Turkish captain."
Oh no,
I'm so proud of myself.
first of all he beat me I think 11-9, so that's real. That doesn't really count. And secondly, that is the only game I lost in the team side out of 6.
I understand.
So, how do you describe being a captain? My words would be herding a bunch of cats, but I want to.
Exactly. Yes, that's another way of putting who wants to be captain, for us at least. Who has the time and energy to mobilize us to get accommodations, arrange for the tickets, stuff like that, the T-shirts. Who has the time to do this? You have time? Okay, you're captain then.
Exactly, it's like people don't appreciate their captains enough, in my opinion, because it it usually ends up keeping a cohesive unit together instead of just like being a captain on the tournament. Being the captain on the tournament is a whole different thing than being a captain outside of the tournament.
Hmm.
It's like,
Make sure your team gets there on time, which has been an issue for us, let's say. We have
that,
people that get up late.
oh yeah, I started at that point. I simply started lying. I was like, okay, the tournament starts like I started giving out time 15 minutes before. Like if the cab ride is going to take 10 minutes, let's say it's 8 a.m. We need to get on the cabs. I say, oh, we have to get on the cabs at 7:45. The game starts at 8. And it's like, because otherwise it doesn't work. It simply doesn't
Yeah,
work. It,
yeah. Herding cats is the perfect analogy.
so, uh, how about the? But you mentioned you enjoyed it, right? It's still a good
Yes.
thing. It's
Yeah. No, it's still a good. It's still fun. I'll do it again if the team wants.
as for.
I'll be captain again.
Is there a chance you? So are you the captain of 2022? Is it for certain or can it change?
Uh, no, it's for certain. For 2022, I'm gonna be the captain. For next or the year after that, I don't know. Maybe I won't have time. Uh, I don't know what life will throw at me, so to say.
Oh, yeah, it is quite fluid. That's for certain, especially in this in the during the pandemic. It's even if you can attend a tournament, it does like you might simply get ill and not make it. So
Hmm.
that is that is one of the challenges that's we see. It's a challenge of our time. It's in the end, this is a hobby. It's there are bigger things than all of the hobby community combined happening around us, and we can only try to adjust our sails instead of trying to go against the wind.
Hmm. Yeah, but it's been hard to say for these 2 years without ETC every summer.
Yeah,
We were looking forward to it every year.
I noticed it as well. When you hand it even once, it sort of becomes a anchor in your yearly calendar, and
For our 40K community, at least our story was, let's say, the highlight. In the whole year, we were preparing for it or hyping it or playing tournaments with the WTC rules and stuff like that to
exactly.
have to culminate in the WTC in the summer. But now as it hasn't been held last year's, it was hard.
I
We miss it.
Uh, we are well. I can tell we are working quite a bit to make a 2022 event. I mean, it, there's a lot of
I,
effort going on it already.
I know there's stuff out of your hands that you can't change. So let's
Yeah,
hope for next summer everything aligns and we can have the tournament again.
yeah. Many fingers crossed many times. So, how do you plan to actually pick your team? You mentioned that you had no more players in the 2019 than slots. Is it still a similar situation you have going on?
Um, for this year, 2022, I don't know yet. We haven't decided on a team. We might go, if it's possible, with the team that we were preparing to go for 2021. But seeing as some of our players won't be able to attend, I think Matei, his wife, just gave birth a month ago,
Oh,
and
which child is it? I think it's third one.
no, it's his first one.
Oh, it's his first one. Why do I think
Yes.
Matei's already had many kids? Okay, that's
No, it's his first one.
okay. Well, good for him. Family is very
Yeah.
important after all, and I mean it with 0% irony. It's family is the greatest
Yeah.
value you can have in life.
So we'll see if we can get who will be the 8 members. You've met some of the regulars at the Alpine Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'll be joining again. Jaime, I think, will be there as well. Remember, you played him, I think.
No, I don't think I played against him. Did I? Was it?
No? Okay.
I
I don't
did.
know. I just remember that you played against him or something.
I
Maybe you played in the singles or something.
I don't play single. Well, if you mean the Alpine Cup, I didn't play. I was
Oh.
organizing it. Was he the Knights player? Who was the Knights player
The Knights player.
in 2019?
In 2019, Vlad.
I played against Vlad. Yeah, he did 11-9, man. 11-9.
I told you, he to this day he said yes, I beat the Turkish captain. For
and,
him, it was a very big achievement.
and I think we lost against you like 87-73, which sort of stank. But that was game one of
Yeah,
day
it was
two.
really close.
Game one of day two, and then we just bounced back to essentially get 3 wins. So I'm like, okay, that wasn't that bad then. We started
Yeah,
bad.
the first day was awful for us. We had 2 losses, but then day 2 we had 2 wins, and then the last day 1 win, 1 loss.
Which teams did you play against?
In the first day, I think it was Germany and Denmark.
Oh, both very strong teams.
Yes, we got trounced, and then we played you. After that, Finland, I think, or Norway. I forgot.
I can't check. I don't have this in front of me, but I'll check. Give me a second. It's not that hard. Let's see. 40K. Team pairings. That's round 4. Oh. Let's see. Round 1, Germany. Round 2, Finland. Sorry, we're wrong there.
Finland. Yeah, sorry.
Round 3, Turkey. Round 4, Austria, which you won.
Yeah.
And round 5, that would be Norway. So you got that Norway, right?
Yeah.
And round 6, Ireland.
Ireland, yeah. We lost against Ireland.
Ireland guys are pretty great. We didn't get to
Yes.
play them again yet. We played against Northern Ireland twice, but the Ireland guys didn't. We simply didn't. The matchmaking didn't come up.
I think we played them twice at the ATC so far. We played Scotland almost every year except the last 2 years. We always drew or they beat us. I don't think we ever won against them.
Scotland is one of those great teams as well.
Yeah,
They are really. They sort of a bit. The situation is a bit weird because essentially everybody in Great Britain can play for any team because they move around and they genuinely have like fathers from England, mothers from Scotland, so there's like they can play for both teams by our rules, and it's like so the England team attracts the best players, so the Scotland team is then it was like. But we had that guy, but then that guy plays for England, so England team is usually the best. In Great
Basically, it's Team United Kingdom 1 and United Kingdom 2, something like
No,
that.
no, it's UN 3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, UNC.
And that's a joke that will never get old, I think. In case if the people listening don't know, the United Nations 3 joke comes from Team England recruiting Nick Nanavati as an 8th player. That was seen as the wider community as a bending of the rules, to say the least. It was because it wasn't needed. The England team has dozens and dozens of very good players to pick from. and I've spoken with the new captain Tony Chu as well for this podcast. It already aired by the time you're listening to this, and they're like, "Yeah, we did that, but we sort of decided not to do that in the future." So it's like they're going, which is not surprising. It sort of created a big ruckus. It's like you can easily form an 8-person team, a very good 8-person team, as England, France, Spain, Germany, America,
Hmm.
and then es- it causes a big problem, and for us, the smaller countries, because we don't get to have that option, and on top of that, it feels like some countries need mercenaries, which is it is what it is. Turkey never was able to fill the team with more than 5 Turkish players. It was a matter of economics. But 1 year we actually had 3 Turkish players and one person whose father was Turkish, who lives in Turkey. He speaks Turkish just fine as restaurants, but he was actually French, so that was fun. uh, but interestingly, this is I know this is a bit outside of this conversation, but I want to point it out. One of the some of the most opposing parties of multiple teams from a single country, are those exact same teams that can form multiple teams. Like the French, for example, are adamant against multiple teams. They don't want France 2 or 3. It can increase. They can easily form the teams, and Americans somewhat suggested, like the individual American players suggested, hey, can we form teams like California or Washington or Oregon or something? But at least in the past, it was the American team existing that opposed that, which is interesting to see. It is a bit unusual that because they want to feel that they are the national team, which is quite good because it means that there is a national team aspect to it. Because in the end, you are actually representing your country. This is the World Cup of 40K. There is nothing like it. Which do you see it as a similar way? Do you like feel a bit of a nationalistic pride when you come?
Yeah, especially I think for the bigger countries with huge communities, I think it's the prestige that you got selected for the team and you got to play in the WTC. It's uh, it's what matters for some people. If you have multiple teams from USA or France like that, I think it diminishes that achievement for them.
Yeah, exactly. It's yes, they cannot form. Maybe they could form 5, but at that point, I think France would form at least 20 teams because they have a.
Yeah,
They, I
every
think,
major city I think will have a team for France.
yeah,
Every hobby store actually.
they actually have a league with like they have 3 league qualifications. It's like
Yeah, I've followed their qualifications a few years back, and it was mind-boggling the amount of stores that were participating, the teams that played. It was wow,
yeah,
like a mini WTC in their country.
it's like you cannot just get into and win the French team title. You first have to get into League 3, then you have to move up to League 2, yeah, and you have to move up to League 1, which is, they have a complicated system, which is
I think this happens when you have a lot of players and a lot of people who want to join. You have to have a screening process, right?
that a somewhat meritocratic screening process starts necessary, but that doesn't apply to small countries because uh, it's like how many players do we have, you and I, for example. For in this example, we have like at most 20, 30 active
Yeah,
competitive players, and
yeah, the same for us.
economics takes it's the I would say, at least for us, economics is the biggest factor other than merit, at least for is it
Yeah,
similar?
economics and also social. If they can actually take time off from work, stuff like that.
Yeah, okay, so that see, in Turkey that's not really a concern because except for birth or like similar weddings, like such non-changeable dates, it's usually is not people can't take their time off, but It's it is economics.
No, it's for us as well. You can take time off, but seeing as you have limited days off from work, like 21 days or 26 days, something like that, they have to take time off for all their other holidays with their family and stuff, and then a lot of few days for WTC. So if they have time to take like 5 days or a week off for WTC, they will apply. Otherwise, they say no. Sorry, spent up all my holiday days with my family, so I can't come.
It is simply what it is. Okay, one one thing I actually want to know about the community. I ask this to everybody. Actually, I have two questions, two-parter. First is how uh, much of your 40k community is oriented on WTC? Because there are some countries like the Polish who orient their entire 40k community and tournaments just on the WTC. They only have team tournaments, and singles is simply an afterthought.
So all the 40k that I know for competitive that's playing in Romania, it's played by WTC rules. We take the missions you guys have, the terrain packs and everything. Just recently, we've been starting to use the Games Workshop terrain layout, but with the WTC rules. We've always, I don't know, people always, since we started going to WTC, people at my store at least, they always try to play the ETC, WTC way.
Okay. And the second part comes somewhat related. How did the TTS did TTS change that, or how did TTS affect your 40k gameplay, your community's gameplay during the pandemic?
I'll be honest, I haven't played on TTS a long time, but I know some people that from time to time used to play here in Romania. But for 2019, seeing as people from the same team were in different cities, we had like once per week we met up and we played a game or two on TTS. But it helped actually. I think the thing TTS actually helps a little the community. People can try out armies, try out the terrain layouts without actually having to pay
Make
the
the
money for the army, so to say.
Yeah, that is. Although I, in general, from my understanding, it's seen as a lesser experience than the real life. It
Yeah,
is.
it is. I feel the same way.
It is definitely an improvement when you consider. Oh, you actually don't have to pay for the armies. You can't test out in a. If you are going to proxy something, it might be better to do it in TTS instead of uh, instead of real life with like beer bottles or something.
This Space Marine is an orc, and let's go.
Just,
Though we used to play like that a lot. In the early days, we had like water bottles cut in half that were drop pods and
yeah. Oh,
all kinds of.
when I first started playing, I proxied whole ass Storm Ravens in 2012 as just bases, so the flying
Yeah,
base.
also that, yeah. Flyers were just bases.
It's like that's a that's not a shameful. I would not say shameful, but I would say that's a period I wouldn't want to repeat.
Hmm. Yeah, it's in the past.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned that. So we are sort of coming to the end, but I have some questions. Before I have some actually information to request from you. If somebody was coming to Romania or simply wanted to connect with the Romanian 40k community, how could they do that?
We have a Facebook group called Romania, Warhammer 40k Romania and other hobbies,
We'll link
which
that
is
in the description.
yeah, I'll give you the link on Discord, which is mostly a group for Warhammer, any kind of miniature wargaming, mostly for our store here in Bucharest, but they also have members from all over the country there. So yeah, generally people post on Facebook, hey, I want a game on Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever, and people reply there. You can just start from there,
Okay.
or just contact us on Facebook and stuff like that. But
Okay.
mostly, yeah, the Facebook group is where
So
people pick up games,
if they
or
just
we can get in
post it,
touch.
they will at least somebody will contact you if you write on the Facebook group.
Exactly. It's not someone from our store. Other players who will just want to play.
Okay, so then I have two hypothetical questions. These are entirely hypothetical. If you could attend the WTC, let's say it was next week, and you could form the 8-person ideal Romanian squad you can think of, and you had no restriction on armies, where do you place Team Romania?
Um, I think the same. Maybe with ideal conditions, we'll get that fourth win. So maybe 4 wins, two losses, something like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's at mostly upper mid range in the leaderboards.
So a reasonable place, and you're not saying, oh, we'll get a podium or something.
No, I think we can get there with ideal team, ideal armies.
Uh, that somewhat requires a tradition of working on, and maybe any team can reach it, but it definitely requires years and years of preparation for sure.
Yes, training, the mindset also of the players. Yeah, it takes a lot of time. I think for us to get there, it will still take some time to
Okay,
get there.
and this is more like a market research, so almost. Can you, because we want to improve the event, can you describe me your ideal WTC?
Um, so let me think. Should be held like in a great travel destination, maybe, so we can sell it to our players that look, you can come to the WTC and also make a holiday out of it. Not at a very expensive place because maybe people won't be able to afford it. So no Switzerland. Um, the venue should have great air conditioning. We don't want to repeat what happened in Prague. It was a little bit hot for us.
I think it was a little bit hot for it. I haven't been there, by the way. I'll let you. But I heard that people actually
I think
fainted.
everyone at the WTC that's been to Prague remembers it as very hot. I think there was even a doctor's call for some reason. Somebody fainted or something.
Yeah,
It
I heard that at least 3 people fainted.
Yeah, it wasn't very nice. Though we had fun and we went again the next year after that. But yeah, so the venue should have great AC, Wi-Fi. Uh, Also for the mats, for the tables, we should have like game mats probably on the tables and great terrain. I mean, generally the last years the terrain was being great. At WTC, no, nothing wrong with it. Remember I think the first ETC in Novi Sad where the terrain was made by I think architect students. We had buildings and stuff on the table that were actual architect dioramas or stuff like that. They were okay, but let's say not for wargaming. Also, please no more green tables.
Yeah, some of my shirts are still have green paint on them even after 2 years of wear.
Yeah, and also maybe actually this also it's been okay the last years. The rules pack ahead of time with everyone agreeing to it, so we don't have a captain's meeting in the morning before the team event to discuss additions or modifications to it because something came up last minute.
I think that last one is, although I would want that personally out of my own heart, I think if some team will find something which nobody else could think of as like, we will have to say.
I think so too. That's our gamer mindset, so to say.
Yeah, as a collective, no, that's bullshit. Don't do it.
Yes, but if you do this, you can actually no.
The last one had, I think in 2019 we had, you can only place the planes on top of the 3mm. Where can you place a model on a 3mm wide wall?
Yeah, because the were very thick, and you can actually place a whole unit upstairs at the last. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was a great discussion, by the way. That very productive, excellent, just marvelous.
Exactly.
Well, we are reaching to the end of the podcast. Is there anything you would like to say? Any shout outs or anything?
Uh, Hope to see everyone, all the captains, everyone, the next WTC. Miss you guys, and yeah, hope to see you guys soon.
Well, this was great. I enjoyed this, and it is it is interesting to see the differences between countries. It's like, oh wow, this country has that, but this country is entirely looking at it differently. So, thanks for teaching me about the Romanian 40K community, and
You're
I
welcome.
I would like to or like pre-invite you to a podcast about the May where I want to pick your brains about the preparations for the event you're going to have.
Mhm.
Okay then.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds great.
Thanks for coming on, and I'll talk to you later.
Okay, thanks again for having me.
And thanks to everybody for listening, and hope you guys listen to the future podcasts of the WTC Squadcast Into the Squad.